tripping, they done hit him with that snake venom. Now that sin fitting in them like a pair of denims. They frequency been turned down, voices in their head saying murder, murder, kill, kill, paint everything red. It's all bad everywhere you look, evil or good. People bowing down the stones, others worshiping the wood. No fear for the maker like they never gotta meet him. Why this wicked power structure think it got a chance to beat them? Spending billions on their space force, thinking they can shoot them down. Babylon tower proof will go around, come around. You might call it karma, but y'all call it retribution. The wages sin of death, you don't repent, it's execution. This revolution not for TV, live and direct. They swallow the hard pill that they gotta digest. But before I digress, let's reflect. You non-believers, you better get it in check. That's a threat.
I don't wanna live like that. Why is that so hard to say if you black? I don't wanna live like that. One broke, killed two, now three, not coming back. I don't wanna live like that. Why is that so hard to say if you black? I don't wanna live like that. One broke, killed two, now three, not coming back. From a gangbanger to a drug slanger, all in danger, devil got him locked in his chamber. Ready to flame up dark souls, dark roads just travel. Knuckle bleeding, feet getting cut up by gravel. You see the world love death and taking life. They make it like you right when you wrong, wrong when you right. This madness, cause everything come with some taxes. The Bible free, but ain't nobody reaching to grab it. It's a chip in the black man, and it's programmed by his mama, cause daddy wasn't there for the drama. I guess the game don't stop with the 83. I hear the screams of my ancestors like, where's you taking me? And one day when I'm free and get the opportunity, I'ma do to you everything that you would do to me. It's not an eye for an eye no more. It's a body for a body, and y'all's gonna body some bodies. I don't wanna live like that. Why is that so hard to say if you black? I don't wanna live like that. One broke, killed two, now three, not coming back. I don't wanna live like that. Why is that so hard to say if you black? I don't wanna live like that. One broke, killed two, now three, not coming back.
Make haste to deliver me, remove from my iniquities. Refuse to let thine enemy go and get the best of me. All these false prophets trying to duplicate their recipe. I got a little whiff, and it's smelling like some jealousy. The one and only big dog, you better check his pedigree. No Miller drinking, but I got a high life expectancy. A warrior like a Maccabee. Tribe of a Levi spoils is what I receive when smashing on knees. I've flushed the sin out, detox. Walk like Enoch, open up the door when he knock. Listening ears when he talk. Vision be clear, he can see all. To reach our land, we gotta keep going. 10 toes down in the field, ain't no tiptoeing. Standing front line, this bond can never get broken. Me, I can't be too many willy lumps. I've been ignoring the voice ever since I was a young pup. Like, you got a hammerhead hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a stone and answer for them sins on your own. You're dead wrong. You got a hammerhead hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a stone and answer for them sins on your own. See the demons on attack, I keep they phony. Told my brother, watch out, I got it, cause this one on me. I ride for the most high, and that's that. Not a rebel bone in my body, and that's fast. See, obedience not an option, it's not a suggestion. I know you heard the word, but you missed the message. The truth is my foundation, and what I'm gon' stand on. The proof is revelation, and who he put his hands on. We all gotta face him, so what your life like? Cause I ain't never heard of nobody living their life twice. You only get one shot, one breath. You better know it. Don't let the devil AI your mind and control it. How you thinking everything you're doing, it's all you. But it's really just a trap late for you to fall through. So it's time to drop your pride, cause it go before destruction. Repent, cause your past life to y'all don't mean nothing. You're dead wrong. You got a hammerhead hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a stone and answer for them sins on your own. You're dead wrong. You got a hammerhead hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a throne and answer for them sins on your own. Your lifestyle come with a price and you gon' have to pay your dues. Keep thinking you gon' get your cake and eat it too. You rolling the dice with your life, you gon' lose. But you don't get the point, you need to come anew. Old ways ain't gon' get no new results, it's you insane. Thinking anything for dollars when you should be thinking change. Scriptures give you directions, Yah said it plain. Gotta keep his laws and commandments on your brain. Even that don't mean a thing if you ain't got love for your brother. Satan is united, Israelites divided with each other. For you bruise who say you studied it, what part of the book is that? Got some chinks and no armor, this division makes some cracks. If you don't see that we one body, then you blind and that's a fact. Still on the wrong train, get your mind on the right track. It's obvious you're Judas if you think it don't match. And you gon' get the business as soon as he come back. You gotta hammer head hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a throne and answer for them sins on your own. You're dead wrong. You gotta hammer head hard as a stone. Feel like you ain't gotta listen cause you grown. But you gon' have to stand before a throne and answer for them sins on your own. Two in the field, one gon' be left. One taking quarters a turn, verdict is in. All payments long overdue. He gon' collect for all labor, swinging the sword, spilling the blood of lawbreakers, all haters, drugs, money stuck on the grind. Tough, strapped up with wicked stuff on their mind. The father had a plan, but you just brushed to the side. You can't escape the court date. You gon' suffer for crimes once you found guilty. Ain't no appeals, motion denied. He not coming to peace. He gon' divide all the wheat from the tears, hotter than flares. A fervent heat can't be put out, ain't going nowhere. You gon' see the elements melt, the air catch a fire. Sinners gon' be fueling the flame for wicked desires. Gonna be a lot of gnashing of teeth, weeping and crying eternally, praying to cease, just begging to die.
When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup. When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup.
Your soul is mine, that's what the demon's screaming. You ain't really with the walk, you just a paraplegic. And when that judgment coming, ain't gonna be no time to reason. Words mean nothing to Abba, you just another heathen. Matthew chapter 7:23, I seen the work you put in, but still, get from in front of me, he can heal you. But are you ready for the surgery? You can't call on his name and start curbing him. Lying under oath, we call it perjury. Don't sign his name, they just send the count, that's forgery. Heard the voice many times, it was steadily warning me.
I can make it bad, I know you done probably heard of me.
I'm about that action, trying to feed him lies, but he ain't having them. Behold the king on the throne, he's greater than Solomon. It's a house party, 7 more wicked ones about to stomp your couch, and they cleaning up when they done.
When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup. When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup.
It's all bad when you think a dead man can get your life. Now all the wrong advice got you feeling you're living right. But if you read the Bible, then you heard the king say 95:17, don't think the law is done away. Don't listen to Reverend Richards, a pastor pay me, and pay attention how he looking at your lady, cause he's shady. I'm just gonna say it, we're dealing with the Pharisees who want you dead on the right, where the Bible say beware these. Your woolly wolf with no bark and all bite, and for the right price what he recite to sound nice. You look twice, but you to see the end time. I'm in the fight, but I don't need a Glock to defend mine. I do the right stuff to pass the kites up to heaven. I'm slicing up the 11, 70 times 7, my direction, and straight toward the evil with aggression. 613 weapons, my protection.
When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup. When he come back, it's a collapse. Pitch black, only attack. Ready for that. Combat, it's gonna blow. Going below, burned up, double reward for you and the whore in the same cup.
Grammarly now uses AI to help you write, not just revise. Type a prompt and generate a persuasive, mistake-free draft in seconds. Personally,
who you are, who you with, that ain't up for discussion. As long as you believe in that Bible that you touch it. I shot the game, quit with no benefits. Now I rock the name, blitz, everything hit. You coming for the fix? How you gonna stop the rain? You hate me for my passion. This called zeal, it's not flashing. Everything I said came straight from the book. Your opinion got us clashing. No passes, I'm smashing everything when you getting hit with a passage. Till it all get eliminated. I ain't never intimidated by evil action. This groundwork and this walk, it's righteousness to be demonstrated, so I ain't gotta say it. I celebrate it till we all made it to the heavenly gate. Torah penetrated my mind. Right when this world wanted me to be stuck, Bible made me a sheep. Right when this world wanted me to be a mud, now it's light zone. The world look dark, but I can still see into the bright zone. The battle for your soul and the war in your spirit. I'm just praying up people keep your night strong. It's no rumors, no more. It's war now, where you can see corruption. Bow down, receive instruction from the Most High. Defeat destruction. They won't stop. No aggression. Dope drop in your section. Snake bite. No protection. Don't got no direction. Commandments has been rejected. Wickedness has been accepted. Fire coming and expected to clean up like disinfect. They won't stop. No aggression. Dope drop in your section. Snake bite. No protection. Don't got no direction. Commandments has been rejected. Wickedness has been accepted. Fire coming and expected to clean up like disinfect.
If your flesh is all you please, when you see the judge, how you gonna plead? Wickedness is the life you lead. Wickedness that Yah will never succeed. It's a storm, you still wanna ride them waves. Won't be nothing left to be put in no grave. Seeing these Christians misbehave, why they still run around claiming they safe? For what? Disaster ain't struck, don't press your luck. Chasing things that's corrupt, abusing His grace. Ain't got no oil in your lamp, don't knock when the door gets shut. Pity the fool, bridegroom, jump rooms with the why. The ones who eyes on the prize, running this race in righteousness. Listening to the word of the Most High. Anything contrary, a lie. The devil played with D-line, strong, no sneak. Still got insomnia, in His truth. Watching for the enemy, so we don't sleep. You go for the heat, ignoring the commandments. Even though you knew they was written in stone, better right them wrongs. When your time gone, lifeline, ain't nobody picking up the phone, you disconnected. The repent line is no longer in service. The dead can't make changes, they wait for the verdict. Dirt you thought was buried, gon' come to the surface. Matthew 25:30, you should research it.
They won't stop, no aggression, dope drop in your section. Snake bite, no protection, don't got no direction. Commandments has been rejected, wickedness has been accepted. Fire coming and expected to clean up like disinfect. They won't stop, no aggression, dope drop in your section. Snake bite, no protection, don't got no direction. Commandments has been rejected, wickedness has been accepted. Fire coming and expected to clean up like disinfected.
Ishmael, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, just calling, just checking in with you, man. Everything's good so far?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to roll up our sleeves today.
I've been looking for a path that I never could travel. I've been looking for a path to get out the devil class. Them chances don't last when you're really living fast. Pick an angle, do the math. See how many you can.
It was hard to hear your music.
Yeah, he's going to be on. So I sent out the video to quite a few folks. So we're going to see what's going to happen.
Okay, Aki.
All right.
All right, shalom.
Come back with a strap and a sack. We the people that attack and the people that adapt to a system that wanna subtract us from the map. Why is that? Cause they know that it's a rap. When the king come back, obliterated, devastating collapse. We get to see Edom's done when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. They don't get to see the sun when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. Evil gonna be on the run when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. No receipt, get no refund when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. Kingdom finna come.
The Bible not your church not the Bible. And you committed suicide when you decided you was gonna follow your pastor, not the prophets of the Most High. 23rd book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, he a liar. 1 John 2 and 4 verify it, got you headed to that fire. Suffering from confirmation bias in the book, and you just looking to deny it. Voice lifted up like trumpet shouting louder than a siren. You gon' die in your iniquity. I'm trying to save my soul. You hear these warnings going out. Can't act like you don't know. I keep the devil on the floor. You keep worshiping Caesar, boy, that white boy with them blue eyes. Never seen my father's throne, let alone prepare the place for anybody in the matches. And he definitely ain't the one that gave his life for his people ransom. My king ain't handsome, never had a pretty look. Brown skin, woolly hair gon' have you shook when he returns.
We get to see Edom's done when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. They don't get to see the sun when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. Evil gon' be on the run when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. No receipt, get no refund when the kingdom come. When the kingdom come. Kingdom finna come. Look, I'm not trying to offend you, but being a stand-up guy, this really gotta be in you. This is not a soft walk. Y'all don't pick rebels. You chose the ones that'll go toe-to-toe with the devil. You can prove me wrong, but you gotta tap in and pick a side. Righteousness or sin. The world is not your friend, and never will be. When you wake up dead, you gon' say, they was trying to kill me. I would never let the devil catch me slipping, tripping. I'll be throwing scriptures up. I done told my family heck of times I ain't coming through cause I done switched it up. Ain't no way to put my guard down. Commandments got me up to par now. I found out they selling their souls, so I don't wanna be a star now. Keep it funny money for the dummies. You'll never see me running, serving the price. Service given to the Israelites, so I'm in service till I get it right. I feel the one to kill the soul in the body. My Hikodachi ain't never sloppy. Just me and Poppy, can't nothing stop me. Got faith in Akis, I know they got me. Not devil-minded, a wishy-washy, not a carbon copy or just anybody. You can sit and watch me, I ain't never cocky. Just trying to beam up like I'm Scotty. It's not a hobby, I'm really proxy. The lousy posse and I'm permanent. I'm 12C like a tournament.
Okay, shalom, shalom, Mishpachar. We're about to go ahead and get the class started. And the music that you were listening to was from the Bay Area Flows, Dem Brews by Elazar, Makiel, Dawid, and the title is Ready for the Smoke. We want to thank those brothers for the great work that they have been doing, putting together this album. You can check them out. All right, again, it's called Dem Brews by Elazar, Makiel, Dawid, Ready for the Smoke. And Mr. McCall, we're about ready to get some more smoke started. All right, so again, we want to thank the brothers for lending us some music to keep us entertained while we get the class started, and all rights are preserved. The brothers gave us the rights and the authority to actually listen to their album. Okay, so without further ado, Mr. McCall, we're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling. Ms. Font, you good?
Yes, sir. Everything's good.
All right. Actually, you know what? Before we get the ball rolling, I'm going to need for you to read Numbers, the 29th chapter, verses 12 to 34. So if you can have that on standby, because I'm going to be calling my very first scripture out, and I want you, if you can, to read Numbers 29, 12 to 34 for me, please.
Okay, I got you, Aki. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
When we begin to understand biblical prophecy, what's about to happen next is going to affect the whole planet Earth. we lost our land, our culture, and our identity. There is a great awakening amongst the scattered tribes, and now we must return to the covenant of our forefathers. The Father chose out of all nations the nation of Israel.
Okay, shalom, shalom, everyone. I pray that everyone is having a beautiful morning so far. My name is Kasada Bar. I'm going to be your orator, all right, for this morning. We have our brother Mishpat. He's going to also be assisting me this afternoon, actually this morning, because it's still 11:04 this morning. And we should have my brother Kakumatha coming in shortly. But like in all the classes that we do, Mishpat, we want to make sure first and foremost that we give all esteem to the Father, Yahuah, for everything that he has been doing for the nation of Israel. So we're going to start with the Father's prayer in Hebrew, and then we'll do it in English. Abinu, Shabbat Shamayim, Yit Kodash Shemka, O Yit Barak Melkutka, Retsunka Yahiye Ishui. Ba Shamayim, U Ba Aretz, Ut At Ayin Lakmenu Tamadit, Umakulanu, Kata'atenu, Ka'asher Anachnu, Mukalim, U Al Tabi Anu Layide, Nasayon, U Sham Ranu Makal Ra, and all esteem belongs to the Father. Once again, all esteem belongs to the Father. We thank him for sending his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, to be that atoning sacrifice for the nation of Israel. So, Mr. Picard, we're going to now do it in English. All right? English. Our Father, which art in heaven, set apart be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Father, we pray that you give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us, Father, from all that is evil. For thine is the kingdom, and all esteem belongs to the Father through his Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. All esteem belongs to the Father, and I can't say this enough. All esteem belongs to the Father. Without the Father, none of us would be here. None of us can do anything without the peace and blessings of the Father. Now, Mishpachah, what I also wanted to do is do the Father's prayer the way that I learned it back in the day, back in 1992. I still find it very interesting. So let's go ahead and do it the way that your brother learned it back in the day. Abinawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahuah, Malak Wafka, Thaba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'aratazak, Kawa, Haya, Bashamayim, Nathan Lanawa, Lakam Kal Yawum, Wasalak Lanawa, Kawab Wathinawa, Kastalak Lanawa, Kawab Wathinawa, Wala'a, Thabaya Anawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Walahala, Wahatha Paharath, Lahawalam Yum. And again, all esteem. I want to make sure everybody understands me clearly, all right? On YouTube, everywhere that this presentation is to be done today, I am saying all esteem belongs to the Father, and we thank him for sending his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. And we also give reverence to all of the prophets that the Father sent, teaching, preaching, ministering to the nation of Israel, that it is very, very important for us to understand the importance of coming back into covenant relationship with the Father. Now, Mishpachah, before we get started, once again, I want to thank the brothers, Dem Brews, Bay Area Flows by Elzar, Malkiel, and Dawid, for sending me the permission to promote their music called The Smoke. And you can pick up and listen to their music at any time on YouTube, all right? On YouTube. So we want to thank your brothers for that opportunity there. We have two chats and somebody's trying to say something. Y'all guys can hear me? Somebody, let me see if I can check it. Okay, great, excellent. Now, in today's presentation, I'm going to want everybody to please pay very close attention. I've been having some very interesting conversations throughout the week, and I want to make sure that everybody is understanding or overstanding my position as we go over today's topic. Because I've been doing this for quite some time now. We're talking about Yahuah the Father, Yahuah the Son. I want to make sure that everybody understands what the scripture says about it. But the title is actually Yahuah the Father, the Infinite One. And nothing is beyond the Infinite One. So as we do the presentation, I want to make sure that everybody follows the slide. So at the end of the presentation, say, Kassad, I need more information on slide number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can try my best with the rest of the brothers to elaborate on those slides. I am only taking questions on the slides, on the title, Yahuah the Father, the Infinite One. That's it. I'm not talking or answering any questions on anything else outside of the topic, which is Yahuah the Father, the Infinite One. Maybe at some point what we can do is open up the table like a lot broader, where we can talk about like any topic, but today is not that thing where we're talking about just any topic. I want to make sure that we stay close and centered with everything. Now, what I would like to have done, Mishpachah, is I want to, before we get started, let me back out of here, all right? Because I don't want no one looking at anything before we get started here. Let's see if I can close this out. Can't close it out. Okay. I would like for Mishpat, if he can actually read Numbers, Bar Midbar 29:12 to 34. And I'm going to pull it up also. So as my brother gets that, give me a second to pull that up, because I want to make sure that we understand exactly what the scripture says. And the reason why I believe that that's extremely important, just to let everybody know, there was a style, a technique. There was things that I was taught back in the early 90s. And some of that stuff that I was taught just wasn't true. And so what I wanted to do now is do my own personal research to see whether or not I'm on the right path, and whether or not the information that I received back in the 90s is correct. Some of it was, some of it is debatable, but I'm only talking about facts, and I want to know what the scriptures is saying so that we can get a clear understanding of what's going on with the writings here. So the book of Numbers, the 29th chapter, my brother Mishpat, I am there. Okay. I want to prove, all right, that the Bible is talking about 70 nations, all right? 70 nations, not the 18 nations that I've learned back in the 90s, all right? We want to prove through scripture that the Bible is talking about 70 nations. So we're going to go to the book of Numbers 29, and let's see what the scripture says. 19:12 to 34. My brother, please, whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
Numbers 29, verse 12. And on the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do no servile work, and you shall keep a feast unto Yahuwah 7 days.
Okay, so that is self-explanatory there. We don't need to go into any depth. Just to let everybody know that we're talking about here the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Sukkot. Very important. So we should keep this feast 7 days. Read on.
And you shall offer a burnt offering, a sacrifice made by fire, of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. 13 young bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs of the first year, they shall be without blemish.
Okay, so how many bulls for the first day?
13.
13. Hallelujah. Now let's go to verse 14, please.
And their meat offering shall be of flour mingled with oil, 3/10 deals unto every bullock of the 13 bullocks, 2/10 deals to each lamb of the 2 lambs, and a several tenth deal to each lamb of the 14 lambs, and 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, his meat offering, and his drink offering. And on the second day, you shall offer 12 young bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs of the first year without spot, and their meat offering and their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And one.
Okay, so in verse 14, let me just back up here a little bit. Because right now you're in verse, what is it, 16, is it?
I read down to 18.
Okay, 18. So verse 14, we have 12 bullocks. So on the first day, there's 13 bullocks. On the second day, there's 12. On the third day, there's 11. The fourth day, we should have, excuse me, we have 10.
Yes.
Okay, so you're at verse 18 now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, read on, please.
And 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering and the meat offering thereof and their drink offerings. And on the third day, 11 bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs of the first year without blemish, and their meat offerings, their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, and his meat
Hallelujah.
and his drink offering. And on the fourth day, 10 bullocks.
Okay, so on the fourth day, we had 10 bullocks. So we started at 13. Now we at, then we went from 12 on the second day. The third day was 11. The fourth day was, were 10. Read on.
Their meat offerings and their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, beside the continual burnt offering, his meat offering, and his drink offering. And on the 5th day, 9 bullocks, 2 rams.
Fifth day, 9 bullocks. Okay.
Sir, 2 rams and 14 lambs of the first year without spot, and their meat offering and their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, and his meat offering, and his drink offering. And on the 6th day, 8 bullocks. 2
Okay.
rams, 6th day, 8 bullocks. I'm gonna start back from the top. And on the 6th day, 8 bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs for the first year without blemish. And their meat offerings and their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, his meat offering, and his drink offering. And on the 7th day, 7 bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs of the first year without blemish. And their meat offering and their drink offerings for the bullocks, for the rams, and for the lambs shall be according to their number, after the manner. And 1 goat for a sin offering, besides the continual burnt offering, his meat offering, and his drink offering. And that was the end of verse 34, Aki.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we have on the first day 13 bullocks. We're going to do the math here because the math doesn't lie and the scripture doesn't lie. Let's see how we're going to put all of this together. We have, pull out the little calculator here. So on the first day, we have 13 bullocks. On the second day, we have 12 bullocks. On the third day, we have 11 bullocks. On the fourth day, we have 10 bullocks. On the 5th day, we have 9 bullocks. On the 6th day, we have 8 bullocks. We go back up here a little bit. And on the 7th day, we have 7 bullocks. That should give you a grand total of 70. Does everybody have that calculation there? I want to make sure that, oh, Kasad is playing, magic tricks here. He's doing something a little weird here. My 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7 isn't coming up with 70. Everybody's number should come up with 70. And that 70, I'm going to try to share here as it pertains to the 70 nations. We have to make sure that we understand, as we say, prophecy and hidden messages inside of the scripture. Now, let's take this a step further. Now, in Hebrew Gematria, the number 70 represents the letter Ayin. So again, Hebrew is going to be very important. And so we know that this is my brother Kakumath's, one of his specialties here, and also Mishpat. Now, if you wanted to add anything to this now, feel free to do so. In helping everyone, because there's a lot of people right now that is listening to us now through YouTube, because I sent this out to a whole lot of people. So there might be a lot of people calling in today asking questions. Now, once again, in the Hebrew Gematria, the number 70 represents the letter Ayin, which is the 16th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The Ayin also means eye, and it is associated with concepts of vision, perception, and in Kabbalah, seeing beyond the obvious. Once again, in Kabbalah, it means seeing beyond the obvious. The number 70 holds significant meaning in Judaism, representing completion, the totality of the nations, and key figures like the 70 elders assembled by Moses. So again, numbers mean things, especially now when we see that the numbers are being used repetitively. So if we can't grasp the formula, the pattern inside of scripture, we're going to miss it. These numbers are not being used out of a vacuum. They mean something. So I want to stop and take a breather. Do Mishpat or Kakum have anything to share about the significance of number 70 so far? Or do you want me to continue on and you'll add in some of your information? Because I have a little bit more. But if anything that you guys want to share, I mean, the floor is yours.
I'll
Continue on, my brother.
I'll let you continue on because you explained it well.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Now, this is important. Watch this now. 70 nations. The idea of 70 nations originates from the Table of Nations in Genesis chapter 10. So again, we're not talking out of a vacuum here. Once again, the idea of 70 nations originates from the Table of Nations in Genesis chapter 10, which lists the descendants of Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This list is traditionally interpreted as comprising 70 individuals who represents all the people of the world after the flood. Japheth had 14 descendants. Ham had 30 descendants. Shem had 26 descendants. Again, adding up the numbers, looking at the math, 14 plus 30 plus 26, all day, every day equals 70. 70. It even goes even further to let you know now, at some point, all of us have to make sure that we double check some of the teachings that we got back in the day. Because each one of us now is going to have to walk this path in righteousness, and I can't say Well, listen, Father, the reason why I believe things this way, or I think things this way, is because such and such told me. That no longer flies with me personally. It is my responsibility to make sure that I read the scriptures for itself, for myself, and make sure that I get the best understanding possible. I don't want nobody's money or anything, but if you feel free to want to contribute to the ministry, hallelujah. But I do not do this paneling of you got to give me money. And I know some deep secrets that nobody else knows. I will actually give you, once again, my sources of where I'm getting the information from. Not like the way that I used to hear it back in the day, where a little bird came to me and told me all of these great mysteries. Brothers, listen, I'm going to show you where I'm getting the information from for free. You don't have to do no Patreon channels and get some extra biblical messages that nobody else can hear. I'm not charging you anything for that. I'm going to give it to you freely, as the Father, I believe, shared with us freely. Now, again, when you look at Genesis chapter 10, it explains Japheth had 14 descendants, Ham had 30 descendants, and Shem had 26 descendants. Now, let's look at this even a little bit further. In Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 1 to 20, read it for yourselves. Once again, in Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 1 to 20, the Mashiach sends out approximately now 70 or 72 disciples to prepare the way for his arrival in towns and places where he was about to visit. So, I hope everybody's seeing where I'm going here. Moses dealt with 70 elders. There are 70 nations. The Mashiach here now sends out either 70 or 72. There's some argument about that. But what I'm sharing now is that the Mashiach now sends out 70, some say 72, to prepare the way for his arrival in towns and places where he was about to visit. He instructed these guys here now to heal the sick, proclaim that the kingdom of the sovereign is near, to rely on his provision, sending them in pairs to be supported by the people. Upon their return, the disciples rejoiced that even demons obey them. But the Mashiach tells them to rejoice because their names are written in Shamayim. I'm not making this up. 70 nations. During the Feast of Sukkot, which means the tabernacle, we have now again on the first day 13 bulls, 12 bulls, third day 11 bulls, the fourth day 10 bulls, the fifth day 9 bulls, the sixth day 8 bulls, the seventh day 7 bulls, 70. Israel goes into Egypt at the number of 70. Now, what I believe, what I just did was show a plethora of scriptures, mathematical equations showing the significance Hebraically about the number 70. And also understanding that there was a point in time where all the people spoke one language. The languages became distorted, confused. The word Babel means confusion during the time of Babylon, and we have now something very interesting. As these nations were dispersed, we have something interesting, is that each one of those nations got a god to rule over them. And when you go to Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, it says now that Yahuah's allotted portion amongst the 70 is the nation of Israel. Mishpat, Can you read that for me, please? Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9. If you can read it in the Septuagint version and in the King James version for me, please. I want to make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed so that nobody believes that, you know what, Kasadaba is making things up. Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9 for me, my brother, please. And let me also pull it up while you're doing that. So just give me a second. Let me pull that up.
Okay.
We're going to take our time and do this thing nice and slow so that there's no problems.
I'll read the King James version first, and then
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, Deuteronomy 32, verse 8 through 9. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
So when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, how many nations are we talking about? 70 nations. And so now watch how interesting this gets, because you know what? It was not explained like this during the 90s. Read on.
When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
Okay, we just broke that down. During the Feast of Sukkot, 70 bulls representing now, again, we talked about that. We talked about the significance of how many people went into Egypt. We broke that down. So read on.
For Yahuah's portion is his people.
Whoa.
Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
Wow. So when the nations were being divided, it makes mention that Yahuah's portion amongst the 70, that Yahuah's portion was Jacob, the nation of Israel. And when you read it now in the King James Version, when we look at when the names are actually there, it says, when Elion divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For Yahuah's portion is his people, Jacob, the lot of his inheritance. So, my brother, please, if you can now read the Septuagint, because what I have been arguing over and over and over and over and over again, and they did not, the school where I came from anyway, did not teach how to do comparisons with the different versions. Only thing that I was taught back in 1992 is that, you know what, we're going to do the King James version because King James was a black man, and King James ruled over 3 European countries at the time. I say, fine, great, but I don't care whether you're black, Puerto Rican, whatever. I'm dealing with facts, and we have to make sure a good student will make sure that he or she exhaust every means necessary to make sure that the information is correct. So Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9 from the Septuagint, please.
Okay. Deuteronomy 32, 8 through 9 from the Septuagint. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of Elohim.
Wow, now that's different. According to the number of the angels of, it has here, my version.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, angels of God. Yes, sir.
Right. And so again, I get where you're coming from, but again, you know, we want to make sure also too now those that are not too familiar understand what is going on here. And so what we're arguing now is, out of these 70 nations, a God was placed over these nations. But this is the thing. They were still supposed to have been under the tutorship now of the omnipresent one. They were not supposed to now be governing their nations in wickedness, because Israel's responsibility was to be a light to the other nations. That was the original program, even back during the time of Genesis. So it was never, ever, it talked about being excluding now other nations. It's just that the nation of Israel had a responsibility to be a light to the other nations. And whether a lot of brothers they believe this or not, the majority of the problems that we're having today is because the first Adam dropped the ball. He was a priest and king in the Garden of Eden. His responsibility now was to be educated in the courses of Torah, spreading his knowledge now to the world, making the whole world unite in righteousness. This is what this whole thing is about. Not beating and raping and molesting other nations. No. We're talking about setting up a kingdom in righteousness. And we're going to go to some scriptures to prove that, to disprove now a lot of that foolishness that we might have learned back in the day. And again, I know there's a lot of people listening, so let's take our time with this. Was there any more that you needed to add to that verse 9, right? You didn't read yet.
I didn't read verse 9 yet.
Right.
Read the verse 9 real fast. Deuteronomy 32:9. And his people Jacob became the portion of Yahuah. Israel was the line of his inheritance.
Wow. Do we really need to explain that? That is so crystal clear. That is basic 101 English. That needs no breaking down. So I wanted to do that first. So,
Yes,
but
sir.
before we get started, I mean, really into this, Mr. Carr, there are some basic rules in order to understand the Bible, whether a person wants to believe it or not. There are some basic rules in order to understand the Bible, and without these elementary skills, it would be extremely difficult to impossible to understand the Hebraic writings. Let me, I didn't switch the slideshow over 1 second. I want to make sure everybody is following along. Right. Okay, now we're good. Okay. Okay, so once again, before we get started, fam, I just want to make sure that there are basic rules in order to understand the Bible. Without these elementary skills, it would be extremely difficult to the point where nearly impossible to understand the Hebraic writings. So, to interpret the passages, you would need to apply the correct hermeneutics. In the Old Testament, the Hebraic concept, this is going to be important. The Hebraic concept, I don't care about any other perspective. I really, truly don't. If our minds are not Hebraic in reading the scriptures, you're going to fall off the boat. The train is going to jump the track. It is not my goal to make the scriptures relate to what I believe. I have to make sure that I understand the teachings of the master teacher on how he explained it, and I have to now submit myself to the way that he brought it out, not for my own gratification. So watch this now, because I said this last week, but I don't know whether or not it was truly digested. In the Old Testament, the Hebraic concept of representation needs to be taken into account. That is, if a representative of a high standing official is standing before you, it is as if that person themselves is there. That is so clear. And if there was a written account of the meeting, it would be written as if that high-standing person themselves stood there. Here's an example. The multiple references to the Lord is often a reference to the angel of the Lord. And angels are representatives. The point is that where you read the Lord, this needs to be correctly interpreted. And what I'm finding out when I listen, a lot of brothers and sisters are not interpreting it correctly because we're stuck in the King James Version and we don't want to learn Hebrew. I'm not talking about pronunciation, just simply understanding the alphabet. I remember coming across, and this is no pun intended, a brother and a sister about 10 years ago. They say they're in the Hebraic walk, fine. And I'm not making mockery of this. One sister said that she was in the walk for 26 years. The other brother said he was in the walk for like 20 years. Okay, then fine. What does your name mean in Hebrew? Do you know that that sister and that brother didn't know? Can you write your name, just at least your name in Hebrew? They couldn't do it. I'm like, that's interesting. Because I'm not talking to a person now that was in the walk for a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, but 26 years? And the other party, 15 years? Wow. That really shares a lot with me on that person's level of understanding and what they're reading in Scripture. If you can't even write your own name in Hebrew and you say that you're a scholar in Hebrew, it makes absolutely no sense to me. And again, that's just my perspective. Let's go ahead a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper here. Question, all right, for my serious readers. Has the omnipresent, the sovereign, been invisible or absent to his creation? Again, when I ask these questions, I want the family to really meditate and think upon it before you jump and give an answer. Has the omnipresent Yahuah, the sovereign, been invisible or absent to his creation? Well, the answer to the question is obvious. Of course not. Let's try to get the simplest explanation of this question in order to have the best relationship with the divine as possible. We're going to read now the book of John, Yahuchanan, in the first chapter, verse 18. And I'm going to do this in Aramaic. And the reason why Aramaic, because during the first century, again, language is important. Our language became important to me back in the early 90s when there was a Spanish brother inside of the camp and there was a Dominican brother inside of the camp. The Dominican brother told me now that and they both speak Spanish. One brother, Simeon, told me, listen, there are words and phrases amongst the Dominican Republic or the Dominicans now that is not applicable amongst those in Puerto Rico. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought Spanish was a universal language. He said, no. There are certain things that we say that they don't acknowledge. And there's even certain things that we say, and if you say it to them, it could be seen in a derogatory way. So you have to be careful. Everywhere that you go, Kasad, listen, you know what? Make sure that you understand the culture and the language. And this was shared to me back in the early 90s by a brother by the name of Simeon, who was a Dominican, and told me that not all Spanish is Spanish. That's not true. And I said, oh, okay, my brother, I'm with you. You know more than I do. I don't speak Spanish. So watch this now. John Yahuchanan 1:18 in Aramaic, the disciples spoke Galilean, Hebrew, and Aramaic. And they spoke, some of them spoke Latin and Greek. They did. And that's the reason why when we see when the Mashiach of the first century was placed on the tree, it had in 3 different languages, I think it was 3 different languages in now, describing the execution of the Mashiach, the king of the Yahudims. It's written in 3 languages. Letting everybody know is that during that time, people spoke more than 1 language. So in Aramaic, it says Yahuah, which means Allah. Allah. So we know what happens now with these Jewish people with the vowel pointing system and the way that they move the nikuds or these dots here is going to now have us pronounce things a certain way. But I'm going to share something with you. Watch how this is read. John Yahuchanan 1:18. Eloah, which is Allah, Allah, no man has ever seen. So again, Allah, the Most High, no man has ever seen. The only begotten, and we're going to look at that word begotten because that word begotten is not there. It is not there. The only begotten God, he who is in the bosom, and that word bosom is very important because if we want to roll up our sleeves and get deep, we can roll up our sleeves and get deep because that word bosom is associated with one of the sephirots when we begin to look at the 10 sephirots. All right, so we can go there. He who is in the bosom of his father, he have declared him. That he is Yahushua HaMashiach. So when I say in Aramaic, Eloah, which is Allah, I am not telling anyone to now go to Mecca, make a pilgrimage around the cobblestone and throw stones at it and rub your hand upon this rock that looks like to me a vagina and everybody is rubbing on it and kissing on it. I'm not telling anybody to do that. In Hebrew, the word Eloah or Allah means most high. It is not a name. It is a description showing the highest one, the most high. So out of all of the other gods, there is one that has a title of most high God. So there are other gods, but this one here is the most high God. Let's even break this down even further. Okay. The word Ella, Elohim, as it associates with the word Eloah, I'm going to read the first and second paragraphs because, again, we have to make sure we understand the language. In the Strong's, okay, Ella, Elohim, plural. Strong's lexical number 426 in Aramaic, formerly rendered gods. They have a capital G, lowercase g. Watch this. And you can only find this if you're studious in making sure that the information that you're sharing with the public is correct. I'm giving you my sources. It occurs 95 times within the Aramaic portions of the pre-John the Baptist scripture. 78 times used as Yahweh, Yahuah, 15 times use of foreign gods, and 2 times use of some foreign god. Now, in Daniel 2:47, and I have been sharing for almost 2 years now, that the book of Daniel, the second chapter, is written in Aramaic. And when I shared this, you know what? Some brothers and sisters said, you know what? I don't even care. I just want to read it in the King James Version. I just want to do it that way. But it was written in Aramaic. Why not see what it says in Aramaic? I don't really want to do that. I want to read the King James Version because King James was a black man. Who cares? Daniel 2:47, both singular and plural forms appear as your Elah. But Elah is Allah, as an Elah or Elohim. In Daniel 3:14, watch this now. Nebuchadnezzar is also recorded as saying, do not you serve my Elohim, which is in a lowercase e, to let us know that there's a most high God, and the Elohim, because Nebuchadnezzar worshiped lower gods, which are no gods. Do not you serve my Elohim, nor worship the golden image which I have set up. So he's talking to Daniel. Watch this now. Interestingly, Allah, not to be confused with the two individuals bearing the name, but Allah is the Aramaic equivalent of the Arabic Allah. Huh? I was never taught that back in the 90s. But at some point, I have to wash the slate clean and do my own research. So when it comes time for me to have that grand audience where I can now present my argument, I'm giving you facts and showing you now where I got my information from so that there's no problem. And if anyone was interested, as you see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more paragraphs on this. And actually now there's like 10 pages breaking down what I'm saying here. But for time, I only read the first and second paragraph. At some point, each and every one of us now is going to have to now do our own personal research so that we can't keep having questions. Some of the questions that I'm hearing, they stem back from 1992, and they still have questions here in 2025. So you mean to tell me now that there are brothers and sisters who are scholars, and you've had questions from 1992, and here it is 2025, and you have not gotten the answer to your question yet? I then begin to ask, what is it then that you're studying? How are you doing your research? Because I believe after 10 years of studying, whatever your question might have been, within 10 years, man, that's a long time. You should have gotten your answer by now. And maybe the reason why you have not gotten your answer is because you're going down the wrong path. Is that at least a possibility? But we know how our people are. They're stubborn and they're stiff-hearted. That's scriptural. Watch this now. It gets even deeper. It gets deeper. Let's continue to unravel a few more layers of Luke, the first chapter, verse 18, in the complete Jewish Bible. Did I switch over here? Yes, Jewish Bible. In Yehochanan 1:18, this is how it reads in the complete Jewish Bible. No one has ever, and I have ever now in bold letters, no one has ever seen God. But, which is a conjunction, okay, but or only in bold letters, and the unique Son who is identical with God and is at the Father's, he has made him known. So once again, the way that it is read in the complete Jewish Bible, no one has ever seen God, but, which is a conjunction, the only and unique Son. So the word begotten is not even there. Not there. but the only and unique Son, who is identical with God and is at the Father's, he has made him known. And the word identical, once again, if we want to go there, we can go there because we have brothers here that can go there. When we talk about the word identical, what is that referring to? It's going to have to point you back to the 10 Sephiroths as it relates to the 10 Commandments. But you know what? The Sephiroths were not taught. They were not taught now back during the early 90s, unless it was done behind the screens. Watch this now. Now we need to understand first century thinking. In regards to this sensitive discussion, no one has seen the fullness of the Father. Now, this is correct. However, many people saw the angel or the messenger of God, but the omnipresent one himself? No, absolutely not. Because it clearly tells us that no one can actually see the Father and live. You would die. So I need to manifest myself in a vessel that you and I can see. But the full glory, the full esteem of the Father, absolutely not. Yehukanan 1:18, even if you went to the Masoretic text, no one has ever seen God. Again, this passage must be interpreted that the ultimate esteem and nature of God are hidden from the unrighteous. The term angel of the Lord in the Tanak is often a theophany or a pre-incarnation appearance of the Messiah. Again, the term angel of the Lord in the Tanakh is often a theophany or a pre-incarnation appearance of the Messiah. And let's prove that. Let's prove it. Let's prove it. Mishpachar, how do we approach the word begotten as it relates to Yahuah the Father and Yahuah the Son? Pay very close attention, because if you miss it, you might be doing yourself a major disservice. Jesus as only begotten, in the Greek, the word is monogenesis or monogenes. Until the late 19th century, early 20th century, assumed by many, the word monos means only, and the word gena means to beget. And so they had the word only beget or only begotten. But guess what? Somebody needed to roll up their sleeves and do some investigation with this. Later discoveries in the papyri now, guess what? The word monos means only, and the word gene means kind. So it's the only kind. So let's back up here a little bit. Let's back up. Back up. No one has ever seen God, but the only and unique Son, who is identical with God and is at the Father's, he has made him known, which is the Mashiach. And again, the word or the title angel of the Lord in the Tanakh is often a theophany or a pre-incarnation appearance of the Mashiach. However, many people saw the angel, the messenger of God, they was only seeing, in a lot of the cases here now, the pre-incarnation of Yahushua HaMashiach. Well, Kasad, you said a whole bunch of stuff, but you know what? You're not really saying anything. Okay, then let's even go deeper. Because again, you know how our people are. You know how they are. Guess what I did? Let's take it a step further. Let's read John 1:18 in the Greek. In the Greek. Into a trust. It had come to bear toward Abraham to the one to an Isaac, being pierced to and to the one to alone kindred. It was bearing toward the one to the ones to the messages upon unto having received up. Now, when you look at the Strong's number 3439, it has the word monogenesis. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Monogenes. Okay, monogenes. And guess what the word monogenes means? It does not mean only begotten. I'm reading from the Greek word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar of the word. So I'm giving you my source for free. And it means single of this kind, only, use of only sons or daughters, viewed in relation to their parents. Use of the Mashiach denotes the only begotten Son of God. But let's break that down. Let's break it down. This is going to be so beautiful. Let's break it down. Let's look at the next slide, number 11. If there's any questions at the end, please, by all means, please bring it to the table. Now, if you look at each occurrence of the monogenesis in the New Testament, it is pretty apparent that it means unique and not point of origin. I looked up the Bible speed search, all right? In Luke 7:12, guess what? This is so easy, but we have to do our research. Luke 7:12, it says, as he drew near to the gate of the town, behold, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of his mother. Guess what that word only means? It doesn't mean only begotten. It's the word monogenes. And she was a widow, and considerably crowd from the town was with her. So it is argued that this woman might have had other children, but this son was a special, particular one. Verse 8:42 in the book of Luke. For he had an only daughter. When you hit the little icon, if a person was interested in language, the word only is monogenes. An only daughter, about 12 years of age, she was dying as the Mashiach went. The people pressed around him. That's two sources. I'm going to do a third source. Luke 9:38. And behold, a man from the crowd cried out, teacher, I beg you to look at my son, for he is my only child. But that word only is monogenes. I'm going to bring up the fourth example. It is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 examples. I'm bringing out that word only, it means monogenes. And I'm just going to read just two more. I have the chapters, the verses. You can read it yourself. If you're interested, for free, I will give it to you. But like I said, this is only for the serious Bible students. I'm going to read Luke 9:38 and John 1:14. The rest you would have to read for yourself because of time. And behold, a man from the crowd cried out, teacher, I beg you to look at my son, for he is my only child. Again, you have the word monogenes and not the word for my begotten, my only begotten. You don't have that word there. Two separate words. And in John 1:14, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now, this is my argument. This is my argument, Mishpachar, is that Abraham had Isaac and Ishmael. But the father said, take Isaac, your only son, during his trial, and sacrifice him. Well, why did he use the word your only son? The reason why he used the phrase only son, because he was the unique son, the special son, not the only begotten. He was the one, Isaac, to carry the covenant. Isaac was the one that came to fruition when when Abraham had a circumcised penis, and he goes into Sarah and brings forth Isaac. But when Abraham had the foreskin over his penis and has sex with Hagar, he brings forth Ishmael. So what we have here now is what we call the Brit Milah, the covenant of circumcision. So we have Isaac, a child of the covenant through circumcision, but we have Ishmael, not of the circumcision, because the foreskin was still over Abraham's penis when he had intercourse with Hagar. This makes a difference. It makes a difference, but a lot of brothers and sisters, and again, it's no fault, because I used to do the same thing, and I still make errors in reading the scriptures, and I have to go back over it again and again and again and again and again. And that's just the beauty of the scriptures. The more you read it, the more information that you can bring out, helping us to educate not just ourselves, but the listeners. That is so, so key. Now, let's move on. Another question to all my Bible scholars. Did Iob or Job see Yahuah the Father or Yahuah the Son in Job 42:5? Did Job see Yahuah the Father or Yahuah the Son in the book of Job 42:5? Let's read it. The only way to truly answer this question is to understand the word emet, E-M-I-T. The word emet means to produce and send out light. I am arguing that the Mashiach was this emet, producing and sending out light. In John, the 1st chapter, the Mashiach is considered the light of the world. When you go to in the book of John, did I say John? In the book of John. And also in the book of Genesis, you also have a scene where the world was in chaos, and we have, it says, let there be light. Okay, and this light was not the light of the sun. This light is spelled different. It is my or versus when you go to the book of Genesis 1:14 and 15, where it has the word or. So the word my or and the word or, because the mem is there, makes it different from the or in Genesis 1:14 that does not have a mem there. But let's read on. The word emit means to produce or send out light. Looking further into the word emit, it means visibility, something tangible, to illuminate. Now, with this understanding, we now look at the word emit as defining sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. Yahuah the Father is a spirit, the invisible one, Ein Sof. The emanation of the Father Yahuah is Yahuah the Son. Once again, the emanation of the Father Yahuah is Yahuah the Son. Now, to aid mankind, Yahuah the Son manifested himself to the world as Yahushua HaMashiach. Once again, now to aid mankind, Yahuah the Son manifested himself to the world as Yahushua HaMashiach, the light of the world, as it says now in John 8 and 12. Emitting from the Father. Job 42 and 5 reads this way. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear. But watch this now. But now my eye see you. So what does that mean? Did he actually see the Father? No. This see here now means that he heard of the Father, but now he sees him through manifestation. Well, Kasana, how can you say that? Job, by the time you get to Job 42 and 5, it is understood that Job lost everything. His wife said, listen, I can't go through this. Because Job was a very rich man. He lost his house, his livestock, land, wife and children. He lost it all. Even to the point where Job now had boils all on his body. He could barely stand up, lay down. This man was in severe pain. This man got the opportunity to see, not physically, but through the manifestation of the Father by restoring to him everything that he lost. And I believe it was 7 times more than what he had from the first time. So he was able to see the mercy, the love, the kindness of the Father by seeing the restoration of all things that he lost. You ever heard of this analogy being used? Because we used to do this back in the day, and we still do it today. Where we can go through something, or I can be thinking a certain way, and someone can come and explain it to me, and I would say, oh, now I see. So I'm using my imagination or my subconscious thinking to raise me now to a higher level of understanding, because someone now is explaining the situation in a deeper level of explaining things. Because I was thinking at a surface level, he comes and brings enlightenment to me. And so now I say, okay, now I see it, because I've raised my level of consciousness. Not that I actually seen the physical thing, but it's now just raising the level of consciousness. So did Yahusha just contradict himself in the reading of John 1:18? The answer is obviously no. I've come to understand, listening to brothers and sisters over the years, is that, but make sure I say this correctly. There's a spiritual way of looking at things and a physical way of looking at things, and one must mirror the other. But I'm here to share that the physical person must walk with a spiritual consciousness. And this spiritual consciousness represents these 10 sephirots, which is also compatible now to the 10 commandments. And again, that's a whole nother lesson. And for a lot of brothers and sisters, they have no idea what that means. No idea. Only thing that I want to do with some people now, the only thing they want to do is abuse, beat, torture, and abuse. And that is not the way of the Father. It simply isn't. Would they be will there be, what's the word I'm looking for? Repercussions? Absolutely. But I'm also here to share. Everything must be done in righteousness, which is a spiritual consciousness. Okay, hold on one second. I got some messages coming in. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any messages here. So just hold on one second, Mr. Carr. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I just want to pull up some of these messages here. Okay, hallelujah. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right. So let's move on to a little bit more here. Let's see if we can explain this because it seems like to me it's just getting easier and easier. This Mishpachah, I personally believe, is undeniable. Undeniable. Can't be debated. It shows that Yahusha the Son is the emanation of Yahuah the Father, the Infinite One. In the book of Matif Yahu, now we're reading this now in Aramaic. Matif Yahu, the first chapter, verse 23, it says, "Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth the Son now, the being the definite article, the Son, and they should call his name Emmanuel." So they have it spelled different here in Aramaic, which is interpreted with us is your most high. Eloah. Aloha. Some people say Aloha, but this is the way that it is read in the Aramaic. But again, a person will never be able to see that if they're stuck with the King James Version. And once again, Matif Yahu 123. "Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth the Son, and they should call his name Emmanuel," because the definition of names means something. Everyone must make sure that he or she is actually walking out the definition of their name. Emmanuel, which is interpreted with us, is our, which is personal, most high. Aloha, Allah, most high God. Yehukanan 20:28. "And Thomas answered and said unto him, Yahusha, my Lord and my God." Come on now. Look, in Aramaic, Yehukanan 20:28. "And Thomas answered and said unto him, Yahusha, my Lord and my God." That's what it says. Now, Mishpat, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you bring out Psalms 35, 23, 24 a few days ago?
I didn't bring out, no, not Psalms 35. I didn't.
Okay, let me read that right quick. Can you read that for me, please? I want to share something right quick.
Okay.
I found very, very interesting because in in the book of Yehukanan, Thomas is referring to the Mashiach as my Lord and my God. Now, the book of Psalms 35, 23 to 24.
Okay. Psalms 35, 23 through 24 says,
yes,
"Stir up thyself and await to my judgment, even unto my cause, my God and my sovereign."
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll just read 24 real fast. "Judge me, O Yahuah, my God, according to your righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me."
Exactly. So to my serious Bible readers, I'm going to ask on your time, read that now from the Septuagint and where they added now the original names. It might shock the hell out of you. But again, you can only get this when you study the languages. That's the only way that you can get this. Philippians, the 2nd chapter, verses 5 and 8. "And fill this in yourselves, which Yahusha the Mashiach did also." Verse 6, "Who, when he was in the form of the Most High." Watch this now again, the language. "Who, when he was in the form of Yahuah considered this not to be robbery, this namely, that he was the co-equal now of the Most High. Yet emptied he, watch this now, verse 7, yet emptied he, the he is the Mashiach, and took the form of a servant, and was made in the form of man, and in fashion was found as a man, and humbled himself, and was obedient unto death, but the death of the cross, wherefore also the Most High, Yahuah, greatly exalted him, watch this now, and gave him a name that is more excellent than all names. All of the other messengers, the Mashiach is the greatest. He is the greatest of the messengers. The greatest. Just in case you missed it. Verse 7, yet emptied he, which is the Mashiach, and took the form of a servant, and was made in the form of men, and in fashion was found as a man, and humbled himself, and was obedient unto death, but the death of the cross. Wherefore also Yahuah, or the Most High, greatly exalted him, and gave him a name that is more excellent than all names. Now, again, the Ein Sof, the omnipresent one, omnipotent one, that level there was classified by one who was in the bosom of the Father, which is the Mashiach. And so in order for me to deal with my physical manifestation, my physical creation, we have now Yahushua HaMashiach, whose first abode was in Shamayim. And so what the Mashiach needs to do now is to manifest himself, emanating from the Father into the world, to bring the world out of darkness back into the light. Now, we know that a lot of people don't believe in the Mashiach of the first century, and that's fine. And that's where they want to go. It's not fine for me. I believe that it's imperative. Now, I find it interesting is that the Mashiach takes 3 of his elite Talmudim up into a mountain, and he transfigures himself before them, and they now begin to see the Mashiach for who he really was, in all of his splendor and in all of his glory. And it baffled them. And there also appeared Elijah and Moses. And now we have a voice coming from heaven telling Peter now not to make 3 tabernacles for these men, but to make sure that he reverenced now Yahushua HaMashiach, and not Moses and Elijah, because what we have here at this point, any problems, any questions that might have been a problem for Israel prior to the coming of the Mashiach now answers these questions. I prefer, me personally, to walk after the perfect will of the Father versus the permissive will of the Father. Now that the Mashiach has come, we can no longer walk after the permissive will of the Father, but by the perfect will of the Father. No more animal sacrificing. You were supposed to have learned something from that. Now that Yahushua HaMashiach, who had no sin, was that perfect sacrifice, Israel from that point during the first century We're not supposed to be doing animal sacrifices, meaning now that your sins, or you're now held accountable for your sins. No more animal sacrificing. No more passing the buck of your transgressions to an animal. You now have to face the consequences for your wrong actions. This is what we were supposed to have learned from the coming of the Mashiach during the first century. But with some folks, that is overlooked. And let's read on. We got a few more slides here, and we could get to the questions. But you would have to tune in. To those of you, okay, we have Sharon, Muslim doctor says Jesus is a prophet and Messiah, but not the Son of God. All of these doctors don't want the salvation, the light. This is my sister Sharon, had to run into with a Muslim doctrine, Negro Muslims last night. Oh, okay, yeah. And that's the thing, is that we see where, as far as the covenant of circumcision, we know the whole thing about the 8th day, and we know that Ishmael, he was actually circumcised when he was 13 years old. And so we do know how important it is for us to understand. Again, it's called the Brit Milah, the circumcision. And that's a whole nother teaching within itself. And so, yes, they say that it was actually Ishmael that was brought to the table to be sacrificed. But when the Quran that I have, the one that I read, it tells us that Israel is God's chosen people. But they also share that Israel dropped the ball. All right. And so, again, language is going to be very important, because a lot of the words that they say in Islam, or what the Muslims say, we say the same thing, but it's in now Arabic. Like, take, for example, the word Muslim means one who submits to God. And so with someone to say, well, listen, are you a Muslim? Well, based upon the definition, the word Muslim it means one who submits to God. Kasad, do you submit to God? Yes, I submit to God. Well, I like to believe that I do, at least. Islam, those who follow after peace. The word Islam and Shalom are closely related. Islam, once again, means someone who follows after peace. Do I follow after peace? Absolutely. And there's many other words. One of the words is let me make sure I get this right. Ahamli di Allah. God is great. And there's no God greater. The Most High God. Yes. Ahamli di Allah. I do believe that. Now, some of the practices that they do, that's when things become questionable. But yes, I can read the Quran and pick out some very important pieces in there, but I understand that I believe that I am part of one of the 12 tribes. I believe that I am an Israelite. And so I follow Israelite customs and traditions, all right? They have a dietary law. They don't eat pork. We don't eat pork. But they do, for some odd reason, they eat, because there's a Muslim spot that I used to go to back in the day in New York. They were selling catfish, shrimp, and crabs. And I'm like, you guys should be kidding me. And that's actually, brother, well, why do you guys eat shrimp, crabs, and lobsters and things like that, these bottom feeders? I didn't really get an answer, but they do have somewhat of a dietary law. But no, I don't eat shrimp, crabs, and lobsters and things like that. But that's enough of that. All right, so let's read some more scriptures, right? Because everything that I'm bringing out here is in the New Testament, and we're going to also bring out some scriptures in the Old Testament, sharing with us that that the Father and the Son now manifests himself to mankind. And just like Mishpat and my brother Gakumatha and I, we was talking, and I told Mishpat that I'm going to bring this out, because the question then is coming about, well, Kasad, you're talking about you believe in the Father. You talk about that you believe in the Son. You're talking about you believe in the messengers, the angels. So which is it? Are you a believer in monotheism, polytheism, and like my brother Mishrat said, listen, monotheism plus polytheism equals akatheism. Akkad means one. You are not operating outside of the body. Anything that is operating outside of the body is in default of the body. So there are many functions inside of the body. There are many angels and messengers. All of this stuff is going on inside of the body, and they're acting as one, which is akkad theism. Akkad theism. So monotheism plus polytheism equals akkad theism from a Hebraic perspective. That's my answer to that question there. Well, what about the Trinity? There's no such word as a Trinity in the Bible. No, there's the word Trinity is not there. But again, monotheism plus polytheism equals akatheism. And we can talk about that later. But let's finish up these last two slides here. These last two slides. 3 slides, excuse me. Now, the manifestation of the omnipresent Yahushua HaMashiach, 1 Timothy 3:16, and without controversy, great is the mystery of righteousness or godliness. God, in bold letters, was manifested in the flesh. Once again, God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up in glory. God was manifested in the flesh. Yahuah the Son. Let me back it up. Yahuah the Father, Yahuah the Son. I want to make sure that I do things in proper order. Yahuah the Father, Yahuah the Son. The Mashiach said, he that sent me is greater than I am. I come to teach and preach his words, not my words. I have not come in my own name. I have not come in my authority. I've come in the authority of the one that sent me. God was manifested in the flesh. Hebrews, the 1st chapter, verses 8 and 9. Now concerning the Son, which is Yahushua HaMashiach, he, which is the Father, have said, thy throne, the Most High, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. Watch this now. No tricks with the words. Hebrews 1:8 through 9. But concerning the Son, which is Yahushua HaMashiach, he, which is the Father, have said, your throne, the Most High, which is Yahushua HaMashiach, is forever and ever. A right scepter, the scepter of thy kingdom. Thou hast loved righteousness and hast hated iniquity. Therefore, the Most High, your God, have appointed thee, Yahusha, with the oil of exaltation more than his fellows. His fellows would be the angels and the messengers. But we also know too now, watch this, non-messianic believers, I'm talking about the one that came during the 1st century, they also have issues with the book of Hebrews. They don't like that book. Because how can the Mashiach be both a priest and a king? They have problems with that. Even though it's outlined and spelled very exact in the book of Hebrews, it can't be accepted. Okay, no problem. Zechariah, the 2nd chapter, verses 6 and 2. Let's see if we can find the Father and the Son operating in the Old Testament. Again, the Hebrew names have to be restored. King James, I'm not a King James hater, all right? Only thing that I'm saying now is that why can't we do some comparisons with the writings, so when it comes time for us to present our arguments, we have the best information possible to explain our situations. Watch this. Ho ho, which means come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith Yahuah. That's what it has. It says Yahuah. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith Yahuah. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahuah of hosts, because Sabaoth means Yahuah of hosts. So who is the God of the host of the messengers? For thus saith Yahuah of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me into the nations. Watch this now. For thus saith Yahuah of hosts, after the glory hath he. Who is the he? Because this Yahuah, who's king of the host, is saying, he sent me into the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. So who are the two gods that are mentioned here in the book of Zechariah, the 2nd chapter, verse 8? So this Yahuah of hosts is saying that he was sent. So if he was sent, he is sent as a messenger, manifesting himself in a, what the word is it hyperbole? I think the word is hyperbole. When it begins to talk about an entity now being manifested in a physical form, and angelic being once again being manifested in a physical form. I think the word is it's not hyperbole. It's it'll come to me. But anyway, he have sent me into the nations which spoiled you, for he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And you should know that Yahuah of hosts have sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith Yahuah. So we have Yahuah being used here. Then we have Yahuah of hosts being used here. And then we have now that the Yahuah of hosts is saying that someone sent him. And so in verse 9, look, because sometimes you have Yahuah the Father and Yahuah the Son operating together in certain Bible passages. So verse 9, again, for behold, we have to identify who is this I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And you should know that Yahuah of hosts have sent me. So who is sending who here in verse 9? And it's going to explain itself. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion. For lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith Yahuah. Verse 11, and many nations shall be joined to Yahuah in that day, and shall be my people. So not just the nation of Israel, not just them, and many nations shall be joined to Yahuah in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that Yahuah of hosts have sent me unto you. And Yahuah shall inherit Judah his portion. Does that sound like Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9? It sounds like it to me. And Yahuah shall inherit Judah his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. If that doesn't have Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9 all over it, I don't know what is. Okay, let's read on. This is the last one. Yeah, this is the last slide. The last one. Isaiah 48, 11 and 6. For my own sake, has nothing to do with anyone that is listening at the sound of my voice. But it says, for my own sake, the Father, even for my own sake will I do. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my esteem into another. Hearken unto me, O Jacob, and Israel, my called. I am he. I am the first. I also am the last. And I know, Kasad, that can't be talking about Revelation, where we have now the Mashiach saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I am the Aleph Tav. The Aleph Tav can be seen in the first writings in the book of Genesis when you read it in Hebrew. I really can't see how these guys are going to be able to get around this. And the only way is, you know what, Kassad, and not just me, there's myself, there's Lamad, and one of my teachers, Dr. Shael Benoit, who has a degrees plural, in the language. My teacher says that, listen, I don't know what in the world these guys are talking about. He doesn't know because they don't want to use grammar rules. They just want to make up stuff as it goes. And you know what? I can even send you to Dr. Shael Benoit, and he will help you to understand the Hebrew language. And he has a degrees in the language. And he's I'm not even on his pay level of understanding scriptures Hebraically, reading the writings. I'm way below him. But again, nobody wants to really listen too much. Verse 13, my hand also have laid the foundation of the earth. My right hand has spanned the heavens. When I called unto them, they stand up together. All you assemble yourselves and hear which among them have declared these things. Yahuah have loved him. Loved who? Verse 14. All you assemble yourselves and hear which among them have declared these things. Yahuah have loved him. He would do his pleasures on Babylon, and his arm would be on the Chaldeans. Even I have spoken. And I know that people will say, oh, the him is referring to Israel. I'm not saying that the Father does not love Israel, but we're looking at a point where Israel needs direction. Israel, even to this day, collectively as a people, are walking in darkness. This is the reason why I brought out the word emit, or to illuminate, to bring clarity in this darkened stage. So there has to be a manifestation in order for the nation of Israel to exist. If there's no manifestation of the Father as he pours himself into Yahushua Mashiach, there is no nation of Israel. No nation of Israel. And the sooner brothers and sisters get that in their heads, the better off they will be. Throughout scriptures, we always see a representative representing the highest. And we can close it off with here. I have spoken, I have called him. I have brought him, and he shall make his way prosperous. How you guys how are you reading 48 and 15? I has to be identified. I have spoken. Yea, I have called him. Who's the him? I have brought him, and he shall make his way prosperous. And what I find interesting with this now is that we know that there was a forerunner even coming before the Mashiach, which was John the Baptist, which is another lesson. And we have to do that at another time. 16, come you near unto me and hear you this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, from the time that it was, there am I. And now, so we're talking about past tense and present tense. Come you near unto me, hear you this. I have not spoken in secret. We have to identify who's that I. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, the Reshit, from the time that it was, there am I, and now, which is present tense, Lord Yahuah and his spirit have sent me. So we have the Lord Yahuah and his spirit and the I that sends the Father. How do we identify these three entities? Like Mishpat said, we have monotheism, polytheism, and we have akkad-theism. They're all working in concert as one. There are no glitches in the program. No glitches at all. So in ending, Mr. Picard, this is how I'm going to do my conclusion with everything. The Most High, people recorded as seeing in the Old Testament and elsewhere, was the pre-incarnated Yahushua HaMashiach, and not the God, the Father. So I'm going to open up the phones. All right. Do anybody have any questions? Is there a particular slide you need for me to elaborate on? And we will have Mishpat and we will have my brother Kakum to try to answer some questions. If they have any questions, if anybody have any questions for me, we would try to answer your questions. And if any of my brothers who want me to even elaborate on something, I can even do that too. So the floor is open. Let's take the gloves off. Let's look at the Sephirot, whatever that we want to do to try to bring clarity to this class here. Let's go ahead and do this. The floor is open. Who has something to say? Oh, and those of you that are watching through YouTube, you can come on through Zoom. I sent the Zoom link. Come on into Zoom, ask your question, and let's get the ball rolling. Anybody?
I seen Eleazar had unmuted, and I thought he might have said something, but that was
yeah, I'm here. I have two questions. The pretty basic question. I
Is
want
there
to
a
know.
particular slide?
No, just a question concerning the 70 nation. I want to know what's the difference between a nation and a tribe. That's the first question.
The word for nation is the ayin and the mem. Is nation. So the word nation and people, okay, depending on the text, they run synonymous. So if there's a difference, we would have to look at the particular chapter and verse.
Yeah, no.
So
I was asking the question, what is the meaning and the difference? If we look at a dictionary, okay, and we look at the word nation and the word tribe, why do we have a word called nation and a word we use as tribe? Because you said that the tribes, when you said in Genesis 10 or 12, 10, when after the flood, when God divided the nations, that what you were taught in one West, or what the brothers taught in one West, that there is not an 18 nation but there is a 70 nation, and that was something I have never heard before. And you were saying that these tribes are now considered nations. That lost me right there.
These tribes. Okay, what I didn't do is I didn't use the Webster or the Oxford's dictionary for the definition of tribes and nations. When you go to 32, Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, there are 12 tribes. And these 12 tribes make up one nation.
Okay.
And we know that, according to some commentaries, when Israel went into Egypt, 70 strong, they came out a couple of million people, but they still consisted of one nation with inside of 12 tribes. Now, when you look at the other nations, what I found interesting is that Japheth had 14 descendants. Now, each one of those descendants became people, but they can trace their lineage back to Japheth. But when you go to Genesis, the 10th chapter, he had 14 descendants. Ham had 30 descendants. But within inside of Ham's lineage, these individuals, they went off and did whatever it is that they wanted to do, but they could still trace their lineage back to Ham. And so if I looked at Genesis, the 10th chapter, Ham had 30 descendants, Shem had 26 descendants. Now, so what I have been doing, show me 18 nations when Genesis, the 10th chapter, shows 70 nations.
Okay.
Somebody's count is off.
Well, like I said, I could, I don't have the information for me right now because I'm just listening in. But I mean, I would like for you also. I would bring the 18 nation recorded in the Bible, and I would like for you to bring the 70 nation by names recorded in the Bible, because you're saying that tribes make up a nation, and then you still turn around and said Ham had so much nation. In the Bible dictionary, it said that Ham had 4 sons. He had Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The land of Israel was first called the land of Canaan. In the land of Canaan, there were the Jebusites and the Hittites that make up the nation of Canaan. There was not separate nation. There were so many tribes that make up a nation. Israel is the same way. We don't say 12 or 13 nation of Israel. We said the 12 tribes, family of Israel. So that's the part that I'm kind of lost on.
Okay, I'll say it again. Noah, I didn't say it, I'll explain it another way. You have Noah and his 3 sons.
And I would like to also say real fast to answer his question. He said that they were the nation of Canaan, correct?
Yeah, the tribes. Yeah, when you go to the history of the journey of Israel going into the land of Canaan, which was one of the sons of Ham, there were several tribes that make up that nation called Canaan,
But
which was
the Torah doesn't say that. If you look at Deuteronomy 7:1, it says, when Yahuah, your God, shall bring you into the land where you go to possess it, and have cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. So they're not referred to as tribes, they're referred to as nations. So it's not a nation of Canaan. These are
yeah, well, I mean, like I said, when you deal with the Bible, you see those words depends on the writings. you see those words was used like that. But we knows that when you go to Genesis, it's a Canaan had these tribes. Okay, these families came out of Canaan. They dwell in the land of Canaan. Okay, so if you look at the story, and because it says four nations greater than thou, you would have to admit that Israel is not a nation. If that's the argument, that every tribe in his son is a nation, then Israel is not a single nation. Israel would have to be 13 or 12 nations, 13 nations.
Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. I wanted to be crystal clear. My definitions are not coming from Webster's dictionary or the Oxford dictionary. My argument is that Abraham, Noah, none of these guys knew an Oxford or a Webster's dictionary. I said Japheth had 14 descendants. Ham had 30 descendants. Shem, 26 descendants. And they are in the book of Genesis, chapter 10. And so what is being argued, or this conversation that we're having now, is I'm asking you, in Genesis, the 10th chapter, does it make mention of Japheth having 14 descendants, Ham having 30 descendants, Shem having 26 descendants? Because we would have to start somewhere.
Okay.
So when you read Genesis, the 10th chapter, the question is either yes or no.
Okay.
Does Genesis, the 10th chapter, explain Japheth having 14 descendants, Ham having 30 descendants, and Shem having 26 descendants? Does Genesis, the 10th chapter, explain that to the reader?
Yes. This is what I'm saying.
No,
what?
I want to answer your question.
I will.
I want to make sure that that we're on the same page.
Okay.
Did Genesis chapter 10 make mention that Japheth had 14 descendants, Ham had 30 descendants, and Shem had 26 descendants? Did Genesis, the 10th chapter, explain that to the reader?
Okay. When you look at the descendants, yes. When you calculate each son and how much offspring they have together, yes. But remember, you have the nation of Edom. That's a nation. The nation of Israel, a nation. The nation of Ishmael, a nation. Within those nations, Jacob had 12 sons, Ishmael had 12 sons, Esau had 12 sons. They are not 12. All of these sons become separate nations. That's where I'm getting lost at.
Okay, so let me help you here. Let me help you.
Okay.
In Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter, verses 8 and 9, we read in the King James Version, and we also read in Septuagint. My question is to help us to understand, and then I have to leave it alone and go into the next question, is that, do you remember it being read that each nation was allotted a god? That's my question. Are we still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I was waiting to see.
I'm here. I hit the wrong button. In the English, which to me make more sense. Okay. Okay. In English, it makes more sense to me because it is written this way. When the Most High divided the nation, their inheritance, meaning their land, it says, he separated the sons of Adam and set their bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. That means that God came and said, Israel will be like the sand of the sea. They need a vast amount of land to live on. So God came and carved out Israel land first, according to Israel. Israel got their portion first, and then God came and gave the other nation their portion after Israel got their portion. Then it came and said this, for the Lord portions, no, men have their portion. What is God portion? It's a God portion is the children of Israel. God owns Israel. That's his portion. When you read in the Septuagint, what I hear is like the nations have other gods. But
Did you read it?
no, I didn't read it. I said when you guys read it, that's the argument. It's not a land. God that the nation didn't get land. They were
No, no,
serving other gods.
you have to read this up to it because that's not what it said. What you're saying is not what it said.
Well, then what? Then the problem. Then we should have a problem. I just read 8 and 9 verse, and it said what it says. You said
No, because you said that it's not talking about a land. See, what we have to do now, we have to be fair, because we really have to move on to the next question. Because what is happening now is that you're not reading the Septuagint. You're not, because you said that you're not.
Yeah.
Now, according to, okay, if it was done according to the number of the children of Israel, my question is to you, what is the number of the children of Israel when the other nations got their portion? Give me the number. Because in the version that you're reading, it says according to the number of the children of Israel.
Yes.
So the number of the children, is it 12 nations?
No, God came to Abraham and told Abraham, thy seed shall be like the stars of heaven, a great multitude. They need
Okay,
land.
Deuteronomy 30. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9. Okay, let Deuteronomy 32 and 8 speak. I'm going to read it from your perspective.
Okay.
When God divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
Yes.
What is that number? Right in verse 8, what is that number?
There is no number in Israel, brother. It tells you that Israel.
Okay, watch this now. Okay, watch this now. Israel is as the sand of the sea, no number.
No number.
So then that would mean now is that the counting of the nations now, there is no number.
Brother, it's
You see
talking
what
about
just happened?
everything.
Let me read it to you again. Watch this now. When the Most High divided the nations, so the nations are divided now. So he's dividing the nations according to the number of the children of Israel. You're stating now is that Israel is as the sand of the sea. There is no number. So when you read verse 8, Yahuah divided the nations, their inheritance. So if we're now having the children of Israel as a reference point, and you're saying that the nation of Israel is as the sand of the sea, explain, is the Father dividing the nations their inheritance? How? So the dividing of the nations is as the sand of the sea. Is what you're saying?
That's the way how the Most High put it as the son of the sea. But we have to ask a question: what is the inheritance he is talking about, my brother? What is
Okay.
the
Okay. We have. Is there any more questions? Because maybe we could come back else to it. Because
yeah. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Okay, we have a brother, Lily Benici. He's asking the question, what is my understanding of the oral tradition? The oral tradition, Moses was on the top of the mount for 40 days and for 40 nights, and he received the Ten Commandments, and there were other words also that was given to Moses. When we talk about the oral traditions as we have it in the New Testament, no, absolutely not. But the explanation of the Ten Commandments, where we have the laws, statutes, and commandments, there has to be an explanation on how that actually works. But the oral traditions, the way that they were being implemented during the first century, the Mashiach spoke out against those things because they had this ruling, what they call the Takanot, where and they had the it's called the Takanot, where there's a thing called a Jewish mile. There's a thing now where there's a hand washing ceremony where you will pour this divine holy water on over one hand, you will say a prayer, and then you will pour it in on the other hand, and then you will go back and forth with this thing for about 7 times. And then after that, your hands are pure, they're clean. We don't find any of that in the Bible. You have this thing now with the lacing of the shoes. You will first lace up one shoelace and then the other. And if you didn't do this in proper order, then that was called a defilement. So these things that we see in the Talmud, no, I don't believe in those things. And we also know that the Talmud talks against the Mashiach, that he's boiling in his own urine, in his own feces. So no, absolutely not. So I would have to hear exactly what it is. But we do also know that during the first century, there were 2 schools that were running, the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai, and where the school of Hillel, I believe it was that you could actually, for example, divorce your wife for any little thing. If she burnt the toast, the coffee was too hot or whatever, you could just give her a bill of divorce. But we had the school of Shammai now had a set of rulings where you can actually divorce your wife for fornication. So during the first century, just in short, is that there were a lot of oral teachings being taught. I would have to hear it as it relates to the Qumran community in the Dead Sea Scrolls on how they did things, and we can have a conversation that way. But some of the oral traditions I do believe in. But the Talmud, no, I'm not a fan of the Talmud within itself at all. So I don't know if anybody else wanted to give their understanding on the oral traditions or the on the Talmud, because there's also a scripture in the book of Ezra where it talks about. Let me see if I can find that right quick for you on that. But while I'm doing that, if anybody have any other questions, anything that you want to elaborate on, by all means, the floor is yours.
If there's one more thing that I can elaborate on, are you able to hear me clear? Okay.
Yes.
In the book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 27, I believe that shows the 70 nations being gathered around the children of Israel. It speaks about the 12 wells of water and the 70 palm trees. Just to go along with the things that you were bringing out earlier about the children of Israel with the nations. And it won't be, it'll be all in righteousness. And I just wanted to speak on that. Just bring that up real fast.
Okay. the
And
scripture that I
also
was
showing a
looking.
picture of 70 nations to Eleazar.
Yeah, because I just find it interesting because are we looking at the whole picture or just sound bites? It's almost like Denzel Washington is like one of my favorite actors. In the movie Training Day, before I saw it, with me watching the first 15 minutes of it, can I fairly give a clear description of the movie by watching the movie for only 15 minutes? Meaning this, let's say that there's 18 nations. Let's say that there is. How do we then explain the significance of the number 70, even in the Hebrew Gematria, as it represents the number 16, the ayin, and it represents the completion, it represents the nation of Israel as it describes them going into Egypt. What do we do with that? What do we do now with the representation of Israel, with the priest now from the 15th to the 21st kills 70 bulls? Not 18 bulls, but 70 bulls. And these are for the nations. What do we do with all of that? Or we just turn a blind eye and say, hey, forget about it. I don't want to talk about that. I mean, it's 18 nations. And for example, that's what Masha said. That's what lawyers said. That's what they said. And that's what it is. Watch this. Second Ezra, the 14th chapter. The first verse down to the 6th verse in regards to the writings. Some things were for the people and some things were for the scholars. Not everything is for everybody. And that's the reason why I believe sometimes things are just hard for some people to see, even as it was for me, is because I didn't fit that criteria of learning from on an esoteric level. It says in 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter, verse 1, and it came to pass upon the third day, I sat under an oak, which is Ezra's here, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me. Does this sound like the two entities that was in the bush when Moses now goes up to that mount called Mount Horeb, which is Mount Sinai? Watch, it just sounds so familiar. Came a voice out of a bush over against me and said, Ezra's, Ezra's. And he said, here I am, sovereign. And I stood up upon my feet. Then said he unto me, in the bush, I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him a messenger. Moses is a messenger here now at this point, and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season. And he told him many wondrous things and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, these words shalt thou declare, and these shall thou hide. Move on down to the 44th verse, down to the 48th verse in the same book, 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter, verses 44 to 48. So I'm going to start at 42. The highest gave understanding unto the 5 men, and they wrote the wonderful visions of the night that were told, which they knew not. and they sat 40 days. Again, somebody's gonna have to make sense of these numbers here. 70, 40, 7, 3. These numbers are extremely important. But when we begin to talk about the Hebrew Gematria and trying to help us to understand the 70 nations, and if a person does not understand the Sephiroth, a person does not understand the Hebrew Gematria, they're going to get lost. Because I only want to read it from the King James Version. That's all I want to do. So then I know that this level of understanding, respectfully, is not for that man or that woman. That were told, which they knew not, and they sat 40 days, and they wrote in the day, and at night they ate bread. As for me, I spoke in the day and held not my tongue that night. In 40 days they wrote, it has here 204 books, but in some of the writings they have 904 books. And it came to pass, when the 40 days were fulfilled, that the highest spoke, saying, the first that thou hast written, publish openly, that the worthy and unworthy may read it. And you can also read this in page 335 in the Oxford Apocrypha. But keep the 70 last, that thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountains of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. And I did so. And when we begin to talk about now the foundations of wisdom, and we begin to talk about Chachma and Yesod, brother, we're going to turn the page, and we're talking about something totally different from that point going forward. But unless a brother or sister is willing and able to turn the page and humble themselves into clearer writings, it's going to always be a mystery. Mishpat, you had something? Let me see, is there anybody else? I'm going to look back here on the live chat to see if anybody have anything. I don't see anything. We have Be So Inspired. We have Sharon, Lily Benici. Okay. All right. So numbers 29, 12, 34. And once again, as an end of presentation, if anyone wants a copy of the slideshow, I can send it to you. Hit the subscribe button, which is very easy to do. Hit the like button. Send it to your teachers. Have your teachers critique it. And I will send the PowerPoint presentation even to them. Look at it. At least look at it. It is free. Free. It is free. At least look at it. It costs you nothing to look at it. And with that, Mr. Picard, I'm going to say shalom, shalom. May the Father be with you. And we'll do it again at another time. All right. So I'm going to say shalom, shalom. I pray that everybody have a blessed day. All right. We'll keep in contact.